I've never narrated a video before, so we'll see how this goes. The main reason I don't narrate is because, one, I don't like the sound of my voice, but also because I try to capture as many elements of what I'm filming as possible. So, with that being said, sound is one of those elements, whether it's the background music, people laughing, or even the thuds of the store fixtures as they're being dismantled. I just try to capture that, so I don't want to talk over that. But this video is different, and it definitely is going to warrant some commentary. This video is essentially combining 3 takes of the shuttered Macy's and Sears buildings over at the Spring Hill Mall in West Dundee, Illinois, on different days and at different times, just to kind of, memorialize them before they meet the wrecking ball. It's unfortunate that these two are the buildings that are being selected for demolition, considering I think they have the most historical significance to the mall. They also both happen to be in West Dundee, so that's why they're on the demo block, but I'm not going to get into that. So I'm just going to instead just talk about the significance of these two buildings, and you can go on Google and, look up the news about them all if you actually want to see why they're being demolished. But these were the original 2 anchor buildings from 1980. The other 4 buildings opened later, 2 of which have already been torn down anyway, the former Penny's and the Stephen Barry's Spiece building. This Macy's building in particular, like all others in the Chicago area, it opened as a Marshall Field's, but this building's very different from the traditional arched facade that was used on most of the Field stores built in the 70s, because this one doesn't have those arches, and it's very modern, with the white precast concrete and that key asymmetrical band of windows that you see wrap around that left side of the building. This one is much like the one that opened at Stratford Square a year later, because that store totally replicated this design, but even then the Stratford store was a little different because of the way that the mall was built, and it was set into the hillside, so the right side of Stratford, the second floor, opened right into the parking lot. But otherwise, these two buildings were identical. The Stratford store, they tore that down a few years back now, so this truly is the first and now last example of what a modern Marshall Field store looked like. I suppose you could make a case if you wanted to that the Joliet store shares a lot of those same cues, but it's a totally different design both inside and out, and I'm not going to bore you by going on that tangent, because that's not the point of this video. So maybe I should just move on to the Sears building. I think that one actually is the most important of the two if I had to make a case to save one building over the other. Because this mall was basically developed by Sears, and at any of the Sears Home Art built malls, those stores were essentially flagship. So there was extra attention paid to their design, and they were a little more upscale, I guess you could say. I know I'm not phrasing that right, but hopefully you're following what I'm trying to say. The theme of the store at the Spring Hill is definitely trapezoidal. You'll see that over all of the entryways, both inside and out. And, I noticed driving around, there are no 90-degree corners anywhere on the building. Um, the only other Sears store that I found similar enough to this one is the one at 12 Oaks in Novi, Michigan, but that one's painted white. But then again, coincidentally or not, that mall was also developed by Sears, so, maybe there is a correlation, but to my knowledge, there's no more stores open at Sears built malls since the last one they closed in Mesquite, Texas. But again, like this store, I feel that those all have some historical value to them because the malls in those communities wouldn't have opened if it weren't for Sears coming in and developing a shopping center. Several of those stores have already been demolished. Off the top of my head, I know for sure the Chapel Hills Mall in Colorado Springs, that one's been demolished, and the one at Northbrook Court, that one really was short-lived since it closed like a couple years after it opened to become JCPenney only to become torn down. But in the news lately, a lot more of those flagship Hallmark Sears stores are now on the pending demo block, or at least have an uncertain fate. There's talks about the one in Brea, California, is coming down to become apartments. The one in Burnsville, Minnesota, I'm trying to watch that one closely. It's had a lot of fire code violations, and it seems like the city of Burnsville may want to come in and just buy it out. We'll see. But Lakeland, Florida, they've already started tearing that one down for redevelopment. I believe that one's going to become apartments as well. But see, I'm off on a tangent again. Back here at Spring Hill Mall, see, this is what happens when I don't have notes. I just skip around. But I filmed the interiors of both of these buildings a few times during their closing sales. You can look back on my channel and check those out if you wish. I'll try to pop links up at the top. But I was actually in that Macy's on the very last day because they had to cut the sale short because of the COVID lockdown. So I thought I would get to do one more shoot there, but then I never did because they closed it. Um, there's a plaque in the cement right outside that building of the main entrance on the south side that's got the builder's name as well as the build year. I show that in a couple of the videos, I think. But I really hope that if they do actually tear down this building like the way they're saying they're going to, I really hope that this is able to get salvaged and kept in one of the local museums or honestly, maybe I should try to buy it, but then again, I don't know how that would work. I just love though the way that the Macy's building just with the way that there's the two layers of the lights over the main entryway that it just illuminates and reflects off that marble that frames the doors. It's just a nice nod to, that modern architecture that they were going for because you don't see that anymore. And then, especially if you were to drive on Route 72 at night and glance over at the mall, the way that that pond is kind of in front of the Macy's building, and you could see the lights reflect over that pond too, and the reflection of that building. Yeah, so many memories of that. Um, I don't know what else exactly I should say because I've kind of gone over the historical aspects of both of those buildings, and I don't want to bore you further. But I guess you may wonder if the mall would be any different if it went to the original plan of being a two-story mall with with just two anchors, but those two anchors would have been Fields and Sears anyway, so then those two buildings both would have been vacant. I wish that perhaps if plans had been set in stone earlier on, that perhaps Kohl's might have decided to move into the old Macy's building. I mean, I know it's on the other side of the town line, but that building's a lot nicer than the Kohl's building is. But again, I'm not a city politician. I'm not involved with the mall. I have nothing, my two thoughts, doesn't matter. Doesn't make a difference what I think. So I think I'll just leave it at that. But, if you're still actually listening to me drone on and on about this, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.